where the mitzvah of maaser is 10%, but the Gaon Vilna says that 20%. 20% is what you're supposed to give if you want to become rich in this life. So where's the source? In the Shulchan Aruch, in Yoreh De'ah, in Halachot Tzedakah, in Siman 249 Seif Aleph, 249 1. Rabbi Yosef Karo says, yes, a person must give based on what he sees that's needed. But if he sees that there is the need is even higher than what he can give, he should give at least 20% of his income, chomesh. Now, further, the Gaon Vilna in Igeret Agra, this is a letter that the Gaon Vilna wrote to his wife when he made a trip to Israel. He didn't know if he was going to be able to come back. In those days, it wasn't like planes and automobiles. If you made a trip, that's a long trip, it's very likely you didn't make it, or at least make it back. So the Gaon Vilna wrote a famous letter called Igeret Agra to his wife, and he gave her instructions, in essence, of what to do with the household, what to do with the kids, and so on and so forth. And he told her specifically that she should give chomesh. She should give 20% of whatever income she has from all the things that they had over there. Because if she gives less than that, she is committing several of the love sins, which are the worst sins in the Torah, by giving less than 20%. And then in the sefer called Keterosh, in Ot 123, Rabbi Chaim Mivolozhin writes in the name of the Gaon Vilna that whoever gives maaser is not going to lose his money, but whoever gives chomesh will become rich. This is in the Keterosh in Ot 123. So here we see that when it comes to giving tzedakah, there's two separate mitzvot. There's tzedakah and there's maaser. Maaser is based on your income. Tzedakah is based on your assets, what you already have. Maaser, you give 10% of your gross income. You make $1,000 a week, you give $100. You make $500 a week, you give $50. You so on and so forth. Now a lot of people say, yeah, but if I have a lot of expenses, if I give 10% of it, I'm not going to be able to survive. I'm not going to be able to pay my expenses. That's where the Emunah test comes from. You know, some people say, yeah, but why don't you just give 10% of the net? Why don't you give 10% of the net? If you give 10% of the net, for most people it's going to end up being like $2. Because you end up, spending so much of your money. You make $500 a week. By the time you pay your basic bills for that week, maybe you have $10 left. So your maaser is going to be 10% of $10, $1. You think that's real? So obviously it has to be of the gross, and that means it's an emunah test. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Levu alai ve'ani poreah. The Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit, I believe. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, borrow money to fulfill my mitzvot, like Shabbat, Chagim. You have to spend extra money for those mitzvot. Tzedakah. He says, you borrow money to do my mitzvot, I'll pay it all. You borrow on my name, he says. Levu alai ve'ani poreah. So when a person passes the test of giving the maaser or the chomesh, which is 20%, based on their gross, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises them that it's going to work out. May not work out in the first check, second check, third check, or even 10th check. But ultimately, for sure it's going to work out. I've seen it with my own eyes. Now, that's 10%. Anyone who gives 10%, the Gaon Vilna says, Torah promises us that that person will be protected, meaning even if there's a great depression in the world, financial collapse, they'll be protected. They're not going to go into the same situation as everybody else. But if a person wants to be wealthy, wealthy during his life, he has to give 20%. And 20% is much harder. Not just because the number is higher, 10 times 2 is 20. Not because of that. Because in reality, it's a large chunk of money, especially as you start getting the blessing. In the beginning, when you're making $500 a week and you end up giving $100 chomesh, that's 20%. Okay, $100. I mean, if you're a relatively generous person, $100 is $100. Everybody can really, reason with giving $100. But what about a Kadosh Baruch Hu starts blessing you? You start making $30,000 a month. That means that your chomesh now is a $6,000 check. $6,000, that's a lot of money. $6,000, you can pay rent, car, this, that, depends. You can pretty much pay for your life for $6,000. So now you're thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to give the $6,000 to KIRUV? All right, crazy? No. Maaser is already enough. 3,000 is enough for them. Because I'm technically giving more. I used to give 20%, it was $100, but I'm sure Hashem is happy with me. I'm giving 3,000. Failed. So the reality is, when it comes to chomesh, it's much harder because the numbers get much bigger. You start making $100,000 a month, $20,000 check you're going to write. It's a big check. You already could start thinking about how many great things you could do with this check that you're about to give, and it starts getting much, much harder. Even though you're getting blessing. That's why the Torah in Sefer Dvarim says, don't forget God. What does it mean, don't forget God? After He gives you prosperity and reward, don't forget Him. Don't be one of these ungrateful people that you fulfilled some of His mitzvot. Hashem gives you a little bit of good in your life, a little blessing in your life, and that blessing causes you to forget Hashem. So that's why the chomesh is a very, very big test. But if you pass it, Hashem guarantees that you'll become wealthy in this world materially, and not a day before you die. Obviously, you get to enjoy it to a certain extent. Now, this is a test for some people. Most people do not even give 10%. Don't even give 10%. They think that it's enough if they give a couple times a year. They give tzedakah, they buy on Aliyah during the Chagim, they see a campaign on the internet, they give they buy some, they donate some money here and there. But it's good to give something. It's obviously better than zero, but it's not the same. It's not the same. There's two mitzvot. There's tzedakah and then there's the maaser. A person that wants to have financial protection, that wants to have a blessing in their parnasah, has to not only give tzedakah, which has no limitations, but also has to give the maaser. Now, because the maaser, even more than tzedakah, shows your real emunah in Hashem as life goes on, because it's in essence, every time you get money, you give maaser. It's not like you don't do yourself a disjustice by saying, no, I'm going to give maaser at the end of the year when I realize what happened. No. Give maaser. As soon as the money comes in, you give maaser. As the number gets bigger, the test gets bigger. So, but the point is that people that do it, they benefit. But a lot of people don't do it because it's tough. It's tough because they rationalize things and so on. So, it's highly, highly recommended for people to do it. But also, like I said yesterday in the shiur, make sure that if you're giving to the right cause and not to some Hanukkah party and Purim party and Save the Whale party. Give it to something that's going to sanctify Hashem's name. That's going to help Am Yisrael do TeShuva. It's going to publicize Torah and so on. If that happens to be Bezrat Hashem organization, good. If you have another one, tell me about it. I'll donate to them too also. If it's good, it's good. Unfortunately, there's not that many good out there. But if something is good, then why not support it? But if you already have something that's good, that's where you invest all your money to.